Guys. Guys?
Guys,
Guys?
can you hear us?
All right, so if you want to sit, you could.
Yeah,
right
please be
now.
seated if you haven't already.
Also, do you want to know the results? For, not for the pie, but for the theme for Bingo Plus night. Yeah?
Who? Let's hear it. Do you want to know the results for the theme? Okay. We're going to tell you in 3, 2, 1. Can you guess? Hawaiian!
Oh, surprise.
Surprise, yes. So thank you guys for voting on the Instagram poll. It was kind of close. It was between Hawaiian and 90s, which to some that might be far, but some it's not that far away. So we chose Hawaiian!
Hawaiian.
It's going to be so fun. So make sure that when you come next Sunday, at what time? 1:30 to 3. 1:30 to 3. And make sure you're wearing your nice hula skirt and bring some lace. We might have lace for you, though. It's like we're in Hawaii. We're just going to go like this.
Hawaiian stuff.
Yep. So we'll get you covered. But if you have some,
Wait.
show up with it because we'll take a nice pic, post it on the gram after. Okay, now we do actually have some results to show you of the pie.
But it's not the final results. Keep in mind.
Yes, don't get confused. It's not the final.
Keep in mind, not the final.
There's still time to go and vote.
For the one that you want.
Riley is doing really good.
But anyone else can take my lead at any time.
I'm catching up a little, but not that much.
Thank you
David
for voting
is this
for Caitlin.
one. Then Kristen, which she's okay with that. But if you want to see her get pied, go vote. Go vote.
Go vote.
It's on the Instagram bio and on the website.
Vote, vote, vote.
Vote, 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 vote. Okay, you guys, we're going to play a quick fun game. So we need volunteers to come on up. And remember, if you raise your hand, you're going to get a Post-it note. And you can get maybe entered to win to pie us, okay?
If you're pointing to someone else, you might also come on up.
Yeah, all of you will come up.
All right, so if you're
Be
raising
tricky.
your hand to get a Post-it.
Yeah, awesome, you guys.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome, awesome. Everybody? Yeah. Sure.
Okay,
Surprise, everyone.
if you raised your hand, you get to come on up.
Everybody does.
So everyone who raised their hand and gets a sticky, come on up.
We're going to play a quick
Yes.
one, and we'll just have you stand by the line.
Yeah.
We might need more tape.
We don't have it up here.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. It's already broken.
That one
Oh,
wants to...
boy.
all right, so we need you to stand in a line right here, please.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
Yes. She wants to know where you can vote on the webpage.
Oh, can I do this later? I'll do it later, okay? I'll do it.
Whoa, look at all these people that volunteered tonight.
goodness.
That is definitely not like we have had in the past. Let's give them a round of applause.
Round of applause, yes!
Wow, okay, we might have
All
to
right.
do this in rounds.
No, you know what? We'll use these lines.
What lines?
All right, so homies, a couple people are going to be lined up right here. Let's do like 4 or 5 of you right here in a line on this line.
Would you see these cracks in the floor?
A couple of you guys right here.
That's the line that you guys will use.
Right in a line, right here. And then
Okay. And you want to be like in a single file line on the line. You can come up here if you want, but just don't fall off the stage.
How many you got?
If
right.
one of you wants to go to that one, you can. Might need it for more
Thanks
room,
for
but that's.
volunteering, you guys.
We're so proud of you. Okay. So Riley's gonna explain the rules, and I'm just the referee.
All right, yeah, so you gotta listen to my voice. So I'm gonna tell you out, which is to this side of the line. So if I say out, you need to jump on this side. If I say in, you need to jump on this side. It has to be a jump, no stepping, or
Yes.
Caitlin will call you out. Also, I might say on. If I say on, you need to go onto the line, okay?
On.
So it's out, in, on.
Simple enough, huh?
Out, in, on. All right?
Out, in, on, out, in, on, out, in, on, like that.
All right, so basically, it's going to be like, you're going to listen. If you do it wrong, Caitlin will call you out, and you can take a seat.
I gotta do it from down
And
here.
it will go to the championship, basically. So, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, you ready?
Really concentrate now.
Okay, out. In. On. All right, all right. In. Out. In. On. In. Oh, good
Oh,
job. All right, all right.
Honesty's the best. That was good. That was good.
All right, we're gonna speed up a little bit. Ready? Out. In. Out. In.
Brett! Okay, from now on, falling counts as you get out.
All right, ready? In. Oh, I got a couple.
That was a tricky
of them. I got a couple of them. All right, ready? On.
Oh! Did you go on?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. False alarm, false alarm. I was like, everybody's out.
Okay, out. In. Out. In. Out. On. In. In. I'm
Oh!
confused. Anybody? Anybody?
That was tricky.
Out.
You guys are concentrating so
In.
good.
Out. In. In.
Oh!
What happens if I just jump in the rope?
That would get me. That would get me.
On. Out. Oh, good job.
Oh, nice job.
Go on that line so you have room on the line.
Yeah, spread out. There we go.
Also, you forgot you dropped your
Go quicker.
Out. In. Out. In. Brett, you're totally
Brett,
out
you're
right now, buddy.
out.
You totally it's not jumping.
Let's hear it for Brett.
On. Out. In.
Oh!
In. In. Oh, couple
Oh.
you. Purple shirt, you done. Out. In. On. On. Out. Out. In. On. Out.
Oh.
All right, so it's a couple of the really talented ones up here right now. So we're going to change the words, ladies and gentlemen. We're changing the words.
You're too good. We got to change the words on you.
So now that side is in, this side is out. All right? Okay, ready?
You think they can do it, everybody?
In.
I forgot what.
Out. Out. On. In. Is that right?
Yeah.
Out. On. In. In. Out. On. In. Out.
Oh.
On. Out. Out.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Some people are going different ways.
Call him, referee, call him.
I don't know which way is in and out. Okay.
All right, we're switching it again. Center is out, right is in, left is on.
Oh my goodness.
Center is out, right is in, left is on. So start out. Start out is center. In.
It goes well,
Out, in, on.
out, in, on.
Out, in, on. Somebody's got to get this so that you can win.
Yeah, so like in, out, on.
Out. In. On. In.
Oh, bud. I'm sorry, bud. You're out. You had a
4
good run.
left. Out and on.
Out and on.
In. Out. In. Out. On. Out. In. On. On. Out. In.
I think you're out. Top 3 get a sticker.
Top 3 get a sticker.
Let's give a round of applause.
You guys are so good.
Everybody.
Thank you so much.
If you came up on stage tonight, come see us after and you'll get a sticker too.
Okay, I'll find you.
It says Jesus loves you.
guys.
My favorite
We'll
saying.
Find you a sticker. Do you have it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, Kate has a sticker for you.
Oh my goodness, you
All
guys.
right, guys, round of applause for our volunteers. That was really good. You guys are way better at that than I thought you would be. Awesome.
You're welcome.
All right, so Pastor Mark's going to
you.
come
You
on
bet.
up next and talk to us about the Bible.
Let's give him a warm welcome.
Woo!
Good evening, all. Good to be with you tonight. We are making our way through the history of ancient Israel that we find recorded in the Old Testament. And just to give a quick sense of where we've been, we started with a guy named Abraham, I believe. We actually started all the way back in creation because I did that lesson. But we get into the history of Israel with a guy named Abraham. His son, who was his son? Abraham's son. Isaac. I heard Isaac, that's right. And then his next, Isaac's, well, actually it was his second born, I guess, is a guy named Jacob. And Jacob gets renamed Israel because he had this wrestling time with God. And then Israel's descendants end up as slaves in Egypt. And then God leads them forth under a guy named Moses. And they're about ready, after 40 years in the Sinai deserts, they're ready to enter the promised land. They finally trust God enough to enter the promised land. And what they had to be was, what's that word? Strong. We can do better than that. They had to be strong. I just got a T-shirt from a young woman named Shanna, who is a freshman at Memorial, was part of the confirmation last year. And she's had to deal with brain cancer. And she's right now down in Memphis at St. Jude's Hospital receiving treatments. And this is a word that is on that T-shirt because she has to be strong in the face of just this illness and treatments that are going to just sap her energy. You know that as the treatments go on, likely she'll just feel sickness from the treatments themselves. She is really going to have to be strong. And so I really do ask you to pray for Shanna. The fact is, though, is that all of us, even if we don't have to deal with that kind of cancer, all of us as we go through life will go through some tough times. You know, people sometimes disappoint us. We fail ourselves. We'll deal with the loss of people that are very dear to us. We'll face challenges. And God's going to call us to be strong, as He did ancient Israel. And we can be strong because we know we're not alone, because it's not just on the basis of our own strength or abilities. We're strong, we get to be strong and courageous because we know that God is with us. And in the end, that He's going to see us through, even if that's that last horrible door of death to be with Himself. In God, we can be strong. All right, so the hero for tonight is going to be a guy named Joshua. Joshua's going to lead the people of Israel, and he's going to lead them into the promised land. And they're going to take over the promised land to be their new homeland. And by the way, this is today's Israel. That's the nation. And Joshua is going to have to be strong. And he's going to have courage. So here is the scripture tonight, the first one anyway. So from Joshua 1, be strong and courageous, the Lord says, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. What's the obvious encouragement, command that God gives to Joshua? What does he say? Be strong and courageous. Now, why do you think God might say that to Joshua 3 times in this fairly short passage? Why do you think that might be? Because maybe he wasn't so strong and courageous. And in fact, we know from Israel's history that when they first came to the Promised Land 40 years earlier, they saw how strong the Canaanite peoples were, and they were afraid. They didn't want to go in. They didn't feel like God could lead them, that God would give them victory. And so now, 40 years later, hopefully they've learned to depend on God, but still, God needs to say, he says to Joshua, be strong and courageous. All right, so what are they going to do? Well, first of all, they need to cross the Jordan River. If I could have that next map here. And so number 1 shows they're going to go, and first they're going to sort of scout it out. And Jericho was a walled city, even in its ancient history. Well, so scouts come back, and then they make their way. And the first thing that happens is they need to cross the Jordan. Now, the Jordan River isn't really that much of a river. You know, it's probably a little wider than Lowe's Creek, but, you know, it's not like the Chippewa by any means. There's just not enough water in that part of the world. However, in the spring, when there would be flooding, it could be significant. And it was the season for a flooded river. So how was Israel as a people going to get across? Well, let's read this in Joshua chapter 3. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during the harvest. Yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark, reached the Jordan, and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zarethan. While the water flowing down to the Sea of Arabah, the Salt Sea, today we call it the Dead Sea, was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood firm on the dry ground in the middle of the Jordan. And get this, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. So how is it that Israel could be strong and courageous? Because God was at work. Because God was doing things that were miraculous. He pushes back the flooded river, creates his own sort of dam, I suppose, in a miraculous, supernatural kind of way. And the result of that is that Israel was able to walk across. That next slide shows the perhaps one picture, as an artist portrays it, of Israel crossing on dry ground. And so how is it then that Israel could enter the land believing that they would have success? Because clearly God was showing them that he would be with them, that he would be the one who would act on their behalf, who would fight for them. Okay, so Israel crosses the Jordan. And then they come to the city they've already scouted out. the city of Jericho. And just a quick map of what they were going to do, or a diagram. So, first of all, they just come and check it out. And then what they would do for a series of days in a row, and I believe it was at least 6 days, they were going to just come up and they were going to march around the city. They did that once a day. And you got to believe that the people of Jericho thought, this is a joke. These people have no power. They're not going to prevail against us. And then came D-Day. And let's read a little bit about that in Joshua 6. God tells them this: have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in the front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a loud blast on the trumpets, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, every man straight in. All right, so what are they going to do? Well, first of all, they're going to march. Then God is going to have them blow these ram's horns. Next slide. So there they are. And by the way, these weren't really so much musical instruments, but they would be used to as a way to communicate. The sound, make a sound on the horn, so that if there was, let's say you were a shepherd and you were out in the fields and a wolf came by, hey, sound the trumpet so that others would come and fight off the threat to the flock. All right, so they're just going to sound the horn, sound the trumpet. And then what they would do, next slide, is that everybody is going to shout. And we're not told what exactly they yelled. But it was as if God was going to, by raising up the decibel level, by raising up the noise, that he was going to show that he would use them to bring down the walls, which is exactly what happens. In the next slide, we see the walls come crumbling down. And obviously Israel knew it wasn't them. It wasn't because they shouted loud enough. It was because God was at work. And he was showing them they could be strong and courageous. They could trust him to be their God, to be their leader. All right, so we've got a leader named Joshua. They're going to cross the Jordan River, and they're going to go to this city, this walled city of Jericho. And they would march around, and the trumpets would blow, and they would shout. And the walls came tumbling down. That was the beginning of Israel's conquest of the Promised Land. All right, now there's a way of teaching the Bible called Walk Through the Bible. And they do it by way of key words and actions. And we're going to learn this portion of the story using Walk Through the Bible. So if you could, please stand up. All right, and I'm going to have all of us face to the west, which is approximately this direction. We're all going to face to the west. And so this was the direction that Israel was facing when it entered the Promised Land. They're moving west. All right, and so we're going to begin with Joshua. And here is the symbol for Joshua. We're just going to go, Joshua. Okay, so say it with me. Joshua. All right, so we have our leader. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cross the Jordan River. And what happens to the Jordan again? Dry ground, right? So we're going to do it this way. We're just going to take our hands like this, and we're going to go like this. And that's going to show the waters parting. All right, so let's as we do that, we're going to go Jordan. Okay, so do it with me. Jordan. Okay, let's start. Let's go from the beginning. So we have our leader, Joshua, Jordan. All right, so we're going to go to the walled city. And what did Israel do? What did Israel do before the walls came down? Well, they yelled, right? And before that, they blew horns, but they marched around the city. So that's what we're going to do. So take your right hand, if you will, or if you're left hand, you could use that. We're going to march around the city. And we're going to say Jericho. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Let's do it. So we've got Joshua, Jordan, Jericho. Okay? First three events. All right, sit down. All right, so we're through a couple of the big miraculous things that go on as Israel enters the Promised Land. All right, then what they do, if I could have that next slide, is that they divide up the country and they conquer it. And so again, we'll be facing west here. And so we're going to go divide, conquer. Okay? Divide, conquer. And what they actually do is they first go south into this area here. And they begin to capture the various cities of the Canaanites. And they'd make them their own home. And then they'd go north, up into the northern part of Israel. This is actually the part that is the most well-watered, gets the most precipitation, rain. They can irrigate from the Jordan River. And so this is sort of like this is the farmland of ancient Israel, up in the north. And so what happens is, so they divide, conquer, south, north. All right, just where you're seated, do this with me. Divide, conquer, south, north. All right, so they had success. Not always, not perfectly, because sometimes they didn't really trust God enough. But most of the time, they obeyed. And so they began to take over the Promised Land. All right, so after the battles took place, if I could have that next slide, they then begin to settle the land. And so we're going to go divide, settle. Let's do it again. Divide, settle. And that would be with the 12 tribes. Well, you could... one of the tribes, the Levites, didn't really have their own land. They were they were the priests, but they began to divide up this area. And this was roughly where the various tribes of Israel landed. And so you can see some of their names. And the most famous one, by the way, is Judah. And to make a long story short, the people of Judah would be the ones who would finally bring about the Messiah, Jesus. Because Jesus would be a Judahite, or as it became known as a Jew. And, of course, he would offer up his life for us. And so God is already preparing for this as he settles the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, so let's take the last part of that. And I'll have you stand up again in a bit. But let's see if we can do it here. And so we're going to go, we're going to go divide, conquer, south, north. Divide, settle. And the last one then is, we're just going to go 12 tribes. Okay, so let's do it again. We've got divide, conquer, south, north. Divide, settle, 12 tribes. That, by the way, is a story of Joshua. And how with strength, God's strength, with courage, because he knew God was going to be with him, that he could lead them into their new homeland. All right, let's see if we can put it all together. Stand up. Here we go. We'll do it several times. We'll see how quick you guys pick this up. Or we're facing west. We're just like ancient Israel. And here we go. We're going to go Joshua, Jordan, Jericho. All right, let's, you guys, I didn't hear, we weren't really on, so let's try it again. Joshua, Jordan, Jericho, divide, conquer, south, north, divide, settle. 12 tribes. All right, one more time, maybe two more times. All right, we're gonna get it in our heads. All right, here we go. Joshua, Jordan, Jericho, divide, conquer, south, north, divide, settle. 12 tribes. One more time. Joshua, Jordan, Jericho, divide, conquer, south, north, divide, settle. 12 tribes. All right, you can sit down. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right. I talked at the beginning about how all of us will face things in our lives where we need to be strong, where we're going to need to be courageous. And I think this year maybe has been one of those. You know, I feel badly for you because you've had 1 year out of your growing up years that have it's been taken up by COVID-19 and not being able to do at least some of the things that you enjoy. And I know for a lot of young people, this has been a tough year. But I hope relying upon your family and friends, and also just relying upon God and His strength, that you feel that courage. And one of the things I really hope is that out of this, that your generation, that you're going to do stuff that, because you've had this tough year, that you're going to have the strength and courage to do things that maybe people of my generation weren't able to do. Because God has just made you so strong. Because He's given you courage. When I think about being, well, your age and then on into high school, the thing that I think I was one of the things I was most afraid of was actually asking a young woman out for a date. I actually really didn't go on a date until I was in college. You know, I'd go out with friends, do that kind of thing, but that was back in a time when you actually did just date someone, and you just didn't go out together. I'm not necessarily recommending that, but that's the way it was. And why was that? Because I didn't want to hear what? No. Didn't want to hear no. Didn't want to fail. It was easier to not ask. Here's what I think. Maybe more than once in your life, you're going to have an opportunity. And you're going to think, you know, I could fail in this. And, you know, it's good to weigh risks. Is this worth doing? You know, you think about, should I get married? Should I take that new job? Should I speak truth to a person? Should I attempt this for Jesus' sake, this act of service? I could fail. And I think to you then, as God did to Joshua, that He would say to you, be strong and courageous. Thanks for your attention tonight. Have a great time in your small groups. did to Joshua, that he would say to you, be strong and courageous. Thanks for your attention tonight. Have a great time in your small groups.